Alright, so welcome to today's class. Today's class is on IELTS reading, and specifically we're going to be looking at the matching information to paragraph question type. So what are our objectives for today? First of all, we're going to try and understand the task at hand. What exactly are you expected to do? And then I'll give you some tips for this particular question type. And then I'll give you the strategy, a recommended strategy to be able to answer this particular question type correctly. And then we're going to look at some exercises which I'll explain and show you the answers and how I came about those answers. And finally, you'd have an exercise to do on your own. So starting with understanding the task, what exactly is required of you for this particular question type? So basically, the matching information to paragraph question type requires you to match specific pieces of information such as facts, details, or descriptions to the paragraphs in the reading passage where that information is found. Understanding how to approach this question type is crucial for achieving a good score. So basically, they want you, you'll be given a list of information, and then they want you to say that, okay, this particular sentence, this particular information came from paragraph B, while this other one came from paragraph C. So you're matching information that you'd be giving, you're matching the information to the paragraph where they can be found. Okay? So that's the task, basically. Now, let's look at this typical question that we have here. You have the heading, which is Island Adventure Activities. Island Adventure Activities. And then as you can see, you have about 7 or 8 activities, A to H. The first one is rib riding. The second one is horse riding, kayaking, cycling, segway riding, tree climbing, coasteering, and mountain boarding. So these are the activities that you can do on this particular island. Okay. Now, you have a full text but divided into paragraphs. That's why you can see the labels here: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And then you have on the right side of this screen, you have the questions 8 to 14. Look at the 8 advertisements for adventure sports on an island, A to H. That's referring to these paragraphs on the left side on page 40, okay? For which adventure sports are the following statements true? So basically, you have these statements 8 to 14. For which of these activities, A to H, are these statements true? So for example, number 8 says you will be provided with safety equipment. For which of these activities, these 8 activities, will you be provided with a safety equipment? So that's basically what you're supposed to do. So your answer is going to be a letter. As you can see here, it says, write the correct letter. You have to pay attention to these things. Write the correct letter, A to H, in boxes 8 to 14 on your answer sheet. Okay, so that is that. Now, let's continue. You have understood the question type now, I believe. At least you understand what you're expected to do. So now let's move on to the tips. Okay, the tips for this particular question type. Number 1, the answers will not come in the same order in the text as the list of questions. What does this mean? This simply means that don't expect that maybe your number 8, okay, let's go back. Don't expect that number 8 information, for example, should be found at the beginning, and then number 9 should come after that, and then number 10 should come after number 9, and it will be coming down in the same order as the information in the passage. This is actually the only question type in IELTS reading that does not follow the order of the passage. It's random. Okay, it's random. That means number 8 information can be found in the last paragraph, which is H, while number 14 information can be found in paragraph A. So it is random. It's important to keep this in mind so that you don't try to force the answer to be where it is not. All right. So the answers will not come in the same order in the text as the list of questions. So the answers will not come in the same order as the list of questions. Very, very important. Number 2, not all paragraphs will contain an answer. This is very important as well. Not all paragraphs will contain an answer. So some of the paragraphs will not contain an answer. Sometimes they all do, but not all the time. So don't expect that every single paragraph will have an answer. Number 3, it is possible for a paragraph to have more than one answer. Yes, you can get, for example, number 8 and number 9, or number 8 and number 12 from paragraph B, for example. And it's usually even written. Let's go back. Look at here. You have notes. Hold on, yes. Here you have notes, right? You may use any letter more than once. You may use any letter more than once. That means you're allowed to, right? That means it's possible to get more than one information from the same paragraph. So don't think that, oh, I've gotten one answer from paragraph D already, so this also cannot be D. No, you can have 2 answers being D. It's very possible. Okay? All right. Moving on, we've looked at the first 3 tips. The next one says, this question type might seem easier if you first attempt the other question types on the same text. So for example, usually you'd have 2 different question types on one text or one passage. So you'd have maybe true, false, not given, and then matching information, and you'd have to answer them from the same text. So this point is just saying if you meet a passage and then you have matching information to paragraph as well as another question type, it might be easier if you attempt the other question type first, because that will give you a chance to have an overall idea of what is contained in the passage, so that when it's time for you to match information to paragraph, you might find it easier to do that because you've already had the chance to go through the passage while you were answering the other question type. Okay? All right. Let's move on. The last tip, pay attention to the meaning of the whole sentence, not just individual words. So this is very important, and a lot of my clients make this mistake when they are trying so hard to match keywords, because everyone keeps talking about matching keywords. But there are question types that would not help you get the answer. I mean, it might help you locate the area where your answer should come from, but not actually getting the answer. Okay? So when you read the information in the sentence, make sure that you understand what it's saying. It's not just all about matching keywords. So don't pay attention to only individual words in the sentences. Pay attention to the complete meaning of the sentence. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right. Now let's move on to the strategy. How do you actually attempt this question type? So when you open your question paper or your practice material and you realize, oh, this is the first question here, and you're able to identify it as matching information to paragraph, what do you do next? Okay, and so this is what I suggest. There is no rule in IELTS that is cast on stone. You can definitely attempt different question types in different ways. This is what I recommend. This is what works for me. This is what I teach my clients, and this is what works for most of them, I believe. So just try it out. If there's a better way that you think would work for you, by all means. The ultimate goal is that you're able to get your answers. Okay, now the first thing I would recommend you do is read instructions carefully. Many people are not patient enough to read instructions, and it's really, really bad. It's not good for you, because it can actually cost you your marks. So just quickly, in a few seconds, go through and read your instruction so that you're even sure that this is a matching information question type. Okay? Because some question types in IELTS can look very similar. So just read your instruction, first of all, to be sure of what is expected of you. Now, then after that, do not just run to the passage and start reading. It's a waste of time. It's a total waste of time. Honestly, for most question types in IELTS, you'd be doing yourself a lot of good if you look at the questions first. So that when you start reading, you even know what you're reading for. If not, you're just going to read the whole passage with no question in mind, no plan, and you've wasted your time. And then when you come back to the question, you still have to go back to the passage. And for most people, the issue they have in IELTS reading, it's not necessarily that it's so difficult. It's because of the time factor. The time factor, especially if you're going for the IELTS, where you have longer passages in your reading. I mean, but I've seen people struggle with time even when it comes to general training. So every strategy you adopt should not just be about getting the correct answer, but doing so very quickly as possible. It's better you finish in 45 minutes or 50 minutes, because of course you have just 1 hour to finish your 40 questions in the reading part. So it's better you finish in 45 or 50 minutes and you have some time to go back and cross-check, proofread. There might be some questions that you might have asterisks because you weren't so sure. You can go back and check all that than not being able to finish. So that's the worst thing that can happen to you, not finishing. Because whatever questions might have delayed you might have actually been more difficult than the ones that you did not even get a chance to attempt. So it's better you attempt everything, because all the questions carry 1 mark each, 1 point. So the harder ones, the easy ones, 1 point. So I would always suggest you make sure you go round, get to the end, gather all the points you can from the easier ones or the ones that appear easy to you, and then you can come back to look at those other ones that you might have found challenging. Alright, so read all the questions and take note of keywords in them. So the first thing you should do after reading your instruction is what? Read the questions. All of them. In this case, we have 8 to 14. Read them all, not just one or not just two. There are question types where you can do that, but not in this one. Read all. And while reading, you're taking note of keywords, you're underlining keywords. If you're taking the paper-based test, you use your pen or pencil or whatever and underline the keywords in the questions. Keywords are literally just important words that seem important, words that tell you exactly what that question is asking. Okay, so just important words. It could be nouns or verbs or anything, but just words that when you read it, you realize, okay, this word is important. So underline those words. And then after you've read the questions and you've underlined the keywords in them, make sure that you try to understand the main ideas in each question and think of possible synonyms for each keyword, as the keywords will be paraphrased in the passage. So first of all, as you're reading and underlining keywords, make sure you're understanding the question. Like, what is, the questions, when I say questions, they are actually statements, because you have a statement and a piece of information and you have to find where it is in the passage. So they're actually statements. When I say questions, I don't really mean something ending in a question mark, but it's just the statements that you have to locate in the passage. So make sure you understand that statement. Make sure you understand all the statements. At least you have an idea, like you understand the main idea, what the statement is talking about. And while underlining those keywords, just, as quickly as you can, also think of some possible, probably the most common synonyms of those words. Synonyms are words that have similar meanings. Okay? So purchase and buy, they mean the same thing. So they are synonyms, something like that. At first and initially, they are synonyms. they have similar meanings. So as you're reading, you're taking note of these keywords and also thinking about their synonyms. Why is it important to just, quickly, I'm not saying spend all the time thinking of synonyms of every single keyword in the question, no. But as you read, just think about it, because this is important, because the words will be paraphrased in the passage. Paraphrase means that they are not going to use the exact words in the question, in the statement, in the passage. So they are going to paraphrase it, use synonyms, or rephrase the sentence. So this is why it's important that you understand the statement as well, because if you read another sentence in the passage, even though they don't contain the exact same words, you should still be able to know that they mean the same thing. Okay. So even if you don't know much about this at all and you feel a bit confused, don't worry. Like I said, we're going to do an exercise together, so you'd hopefully be able to understand better when we start practicing. But just keep all these things I'm saying in mind, okay? Then the next one, read the first paragraph and quickly see if you can match it to any of the statements, then move to the next paragraph. So after you've read the questions carefully, underline keywords, sort of synonyms for some of the keywords, you then go and this is the only time, when you've done all this is the only time you're now allowed to go to the passage. So you don't just get to your question type and start reading the passage without actually taking time to read the question. It's going to waste your time. So read the question, understand it, analyze it, think of synonyms, then you go to the passage. And then you read the first paragraph and you quickly come and check if there's anything like that amongst the information the sentences are supposed to match. And you do so if there is, or move on to paragraph B if you can't find anything like that in that particular paragraph. Okay? So I hope you've understood what I've said so far. Let us attempt this one. So I said, this is your question paper, and read your instructions. So read the text below and answer questions 8 to 14. Now the instruction, of course, you have your heading. Always read your headings, okay? Island adventure activities. So even before you read, the heading has given you an idea that this whole passage is going to be about some activities you can take on an island, or you can partake in when you're on this particular island. Then you read the instructions for the question side. Look at the 8 advertisements for adventure sports on an island, A to H, referring to the passage on page 40. For which adventure sports are the following statements true? So at this point, you should figure out that, okay, they're trying to say, you figure out that this is actually a matching information to paragraphs. So for which of these sports, A to H, are these sentences true? Okay? So now, what did I say you should do next? I hope you're following. After reading your instructions, I said you should then come to the questions, right? And do what? Read them all, 8 to 14. And as you're reading, you should do what? Underline or take note of key words. So in my case, I'm going to be highlighting them so that you can see, okay? You will be provided with safety equipment. Provided with safety equipment. So this is the major keyword here. Sometimes they come as a group of words, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be just one word. So you will be provided with safety equipment. Then the next one, in number 9, you may get some minor injuries. So like I said, try to think of synonyms. So minor injuries can be small cuts, can be little wounds, it can be anything, okay? But just make sure you understand what you are actually reading. So you may get some minor injuries doing this activity, right? Next, you have number 10. You can see a disused, isolated building. Disused, isolated building. Okay? Moving on to number 11. You can relax relax, and look down from above in an unusual, above is important too, in an unusual location. So probably for this activity, you'll be in a very high place where you can relax and look down from above. Okay? Now, we have number 12. You will take an exciting trip in rough water. Exciting trip in rough water. That means water is not calm. Okay, it's probably stormy. Close to big ships. Close to big ships. Okay? Then you have number 13. Number 13 says you can choose easy options. So you can choose, it's your choice, easy options or more difficult ones. Right? Finally, number 14, you may find this more difficult than you expect. More difficult than you expect. Okay? So now, you've gone through the questions and you've taken note of keywords. What do you do next? You then go to paragraph A and read carefully. Of course, I don't need to tell you, at least I hope so, that you have to pay attention when you're reading IELTS. When you're doing anything IELTS, be it writing, be it speaking, be it listening, you have to pay attention. So attention is a must. It's a must. It's a must though. If you are not paying attention, you will not be able to even understand. As in, you'd pass your answers without even knowing you've passed them because you're not focused. There is no two ways about it. There is no two ways about it. You must be able to concentrate on what you're reading or what you're listening to or on what you're writing or what you're saying. It doesn't matter, okay? So now, because if you did not, I'm not saying memorize all these keywords, okay? That's not what I'm asking you to do, to be honest. But at least you should be able to have it somewhere at the back of your head so that if you read it, you'll be able to know, wait, though, it's like I saw something like this, and you can then come back and check and confirm, okay? So let's start with paragraph A, which is what? Rib riding. Conquer stormy seas. I'm already seeing stormy seas. And if you remember, one of them actually talked about stormy seas, which is number 12. Let me change the highlighter to purple. It talked about what? Stormy seas. And he said rough water. But those are synonyms, okay? So, conquer stormy seas. Stormy seas. I'm going to be highlighting anything that looks like what I saw in the question. Okay? So, all right. So, conquer stormy seas on a high-speed ride in an rib, which is a rapid inflatable boat. These powerful boats cut through choppy waters with ease. So, choppy waters, okay, with ease. You need to hold on tight as the boat bounces across the wake of awesome cruise liners in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. So you have to hold on tight as the boat bounces across the wake of. Across the wake of means like as you're moving, you'd be able to see. You'd see awesome cruise liners. You know what a cruise liner is, right? So I'm going to show you on the screen as well. It's a very big ship. It's a very big ship. That's what a cruise liner is. Okay, those really big ones that you have floors and you can carry thousands of people, I believe. Okay, and people pay to be on them while they're on vacation. So you need to hold on tight as the boat bounces across the wake of awesome cruise liners in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. So look at all the keywords we've already seen that we can also find in number 12. You will take an exciting trip in rough waters, stormy seas, choppy waters, close to big ships, cruise liners. It's saying the same thing. Okay? It's saying the same thing. So that's why the answer to number 12 is A. When you select your answer, you just try to mark the one that you've already done so that you don't get confused later. Okay, so I'm going to be marking the paragraphs with the same colors that I used to mark the questions. As you can see, the purple highlighter is on A, and that's why I got to number 12, which is also highlighted in purple. So that's how you'd be able to mark it, or rather match it later if you're going through the video again. Okay, so afterwards you mark so that you know what you've done already. So 12 is out of it. We've answered 12. Okay, good. Now we keep reading. Number B, horse riding. Experience the thrill of riding on horseback along peaceful country lanes and secluded bridleways with the help of expert guides. Even a novice can quickly take the reins and feel the thrill of riding one of nature's most magnificent beasts. From what I remember, we did not talk about any horse riding amongst all the questions. Remember I told you that not every single paragraph will contain an answer, right? Okay. We move to C, which is what? Kayaking. Kayaking. Test your kayak nerves paddling around a deserted, yes, I know that I came across this word somewhere, a deserted military fort. Deserted means like no one is using it. Okay, so it's already looking like number 10, disused, isolated building. A military fort is a building as well used by the military, but obviously this one is no longer in use by the military. Deserted military fort, okay, on a rocky outcrop out at sea. Then explore the island's busy harbors before gliding back to dry land where a hot shower and a cup of tea await. So let's analyze it. I'm already suspecting D, and I told you why. But let's actually look at it, okay, to be sure. So here you have disused, isolated building. You can see a disused, isolated building. Then back at C, first of all, deserted means no one is there, right? A military fort, I told you, is a building. Then what else? Out at sea, that's isolated. Okay, so it's not on land or close to land, it's out at sea, it's far away, it's at sea. So you can see that all the keywords are here, but paraphrased: disused, deserted, military fort, building, then isolated, out at sea. So you can see a disused, isolated building. That's the same thing. They said you paddle around a deserted military fort built on a rocky outcrop out at sea. You're going to see this military fort while paddling. Do you understand? So that means number 10 would be C. Now another thing I want to mention, people make this mistake a lot. When it's time to fill their answer sheets, remember that the first one we filled or we answered was number 12. On your answer sheet, you don't go and fill the A for number 8. Because we've not yet gotten the answer to number 8. We've only gotten the answer to number 12, and now we just got the answer to number 10. So because it's random, you're going to be filling it in randomly as well. It's not going to follow the same order of filling from number 8 to 14. I don't know if you understand. So make sure you're filling your answers in the right spaces on your answer sheet. People make this mistake a lot. Don't go and write on the number 8 A and number 9 C. No. What we found first is number 12. So it's number 12 that is A, and now we've gotten number 10 to be C. Okay? I really hope you're following. Let me try to do this thing. It's really shaky, but I think just to make it all clear. Number 12 is A, and number 10 is C. Remember to always try to check if there's any other option that is from the same paragraph, but there is none. Okay, so we move on to paragraph D, which is cycling. Test your endurance on the famous round the island cycle route. Grit your teeth and tackle the brutal hills in the south of the island, or for something less challenging, discover our car-free cycle tracks on former railway lines. So this particular activity gives you two options. You can either take the brutal one and you do it while gritting your teeth. You grit your teeth when you're doing something really, scary or difficult. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, if you're more daring, go ahead and grit your teeth and tackle the brutal hills in the south of the island. That's your choice. Or if you want something less challenging, like you don't want stress, you should go for the other option, which is discover their car-free cycle tracks on former railway lines. That one is easier. We saw something like that, and that should be number 13. You can choose easy options, which is the less challenging one from the paragraph D, or more difficult ones, which is the one where you grit your teeth. So you have two options. Either you choose the more difficult ones, or you choose the easier one, the less challenging one. So that is why number 13 is going to be D. So what are the key words here? So I said that gritting your teeth shows that something is difficult or really tasking. Another word is the brutal hills. That shows something is difficult. Then you have the or, which is also found in the question, right? Something less challenging. You understand? So everything here is found in the passage. It's also found in the question. Choose easy options or more difficult ones. Okay? So that means that number 13 is D. Number 13 is what? Is D. And we've answered that. So we've answered number 13. And it is D. Right? Good. Now, we have 8, 9, 11, and 14 to go. The reason I say cancel the one you've done is so that it's clearer. You don't get confused, okay? So now, we move over to E. Now, E says Segway riding. Have you got what it takes to master a Segway? Now, the truth is that some of the words or vocabulary you see in IELTS, you might not know what they mean. It's possible. It happens to everyone, including me, right? Especially these activities that might not be available where you live. So you don't really know what they mean by kayaking and rib riding and Segway riding and the rest, because it's not something you know about. But that should not deter you from trying to get your answer, because if you've noticed now, the words that actually matter are words you understand. The key words are words you understand. Provide safety equipment, minor injuries, disuse, isolated, relax, look down, exciting trip, rough waters, easy options, more difficult than you expect. These are not complex words like Segway and the rest. So don't get discouraged when you see words like this that you don't know. Always remind yourself that you're only looking for the keywords, the meanings. You're looking for it in the passage, okay? So even if you don't know what a segue is, I'm going to um put an image so that you can learn what it is. But let's say you're in the hall and you don't know what all those words mean. It does not matter. Don't be discouraged. Sometimes knowing helps, like in that, for that number 12 where we figured out that the cruise liner is a large ship. I only knew that because I actually know that I know what a cruise liner is. But even if you don't, I believe would confirm, but I believe that's the only paragraph that talks about stormy waters and all whatnot. So you should have still been able to pick 12 as A. So even if there are words you don't know, try to maneuver it. Try to use the ones that you do know to get your answer. Okay? And like I said, the keywords would always be words that you know. All right. Have you got what it takes to master a segue? I don't know what a segue is. I'm just saying I don't know. But let's imagine I don't know what a segue is. Doesn't matter. I keep reading, okay? In theory, these quirky electric machines are simple to control. So from the context, I already know that, okay, a segue is a sort of electric machine. So in theory, like when you think about it, it's simple to control, with users leaning forward to go faster and back to slow down. So maybe some sort of machine you move with, yes, that has speed, but the only way to control the speed is if it's too fast for you, or rather if you want to go faster, you lean forward. Then if it's too fast for you, you lean backwards. Maybe some sort of bike. So this should be your thought process, okay? Now, they say in theory, it sounds easy because all you have to do, lean forward for faster, lean backwards for slower. In reality though, you need some practice before you can master the skill and glide around the island. So they told us about two sides of it, in theory and in reality. In theory it's just like looking at a bicycle, for example, I think, or a hoverboard. You know those hoverboards. Those hoverboards. It's just like looking at it and being like, all I have to do is stand up on this thing and it's been moving me around. But of course, you should know it's not that easy. I've not tried one, but I've seen videos of people assuming it's so easy and then they ended up falling. So it's probably one of those things, right? You lean forward for faster, you lean backwards for slower. In theory, it's just easy. But in reality, you actually need practice to be able to use it. That's what the passage says. And I know I read something like that. So I go back and breeze through the keywords. When you go back to the questions, you don't have to read the whole sentence. You don't have to look at read the sentences. That's why you underline keywords. So you can just take a quick glance at the keywords until you see something similar to what you just read. And number 14 looks like it, right? You may find this more difficult than you expect. So in theory, you might believe that, so more difficult than you expect. So what are the keywords I saw? So first of all, in theory, they are simple to control, right? But in reality, you need some practice. You need some practice. So it's more difficult than you'd expect. That is just it. So number 14 is E. Notice that so far we've not really seen any option that has that, any option, any paragraph or any activity that has answers from one paragraph, like more than one activity. So, but you just keep moving. You still might come across it. So we've done number 14, and number 14 can be found in paragraph E. Okay? Moving on, we still have three answers. Three questions we've not answered. Number 8, you will be provided with safety equipment. Number 9, you may get some minor injuries during this activity. Number 11, you can relax and look down from above in an unusual location. Okay? No, you know that if you were actually doing this, it'd be a lot faster. In fact, you should allocate only about 1 minute for each question. If it's taking more than 1 minute, it's not worth it. Just move on. Okay, but I'm taking my time to teach. That's why it's taking this long. That means you should be able to answer this in about 7 to 8 minutes. You've done 8 to 14. That's the speed you actually need to be able to do well, to be able to finish fast on your exam day. Okay, all right. So now let's move to paragraph F. F is about tree climbing. A climb into the canopy of a 25-meter oak tree is an amazing experience. 25 meters is very high, okay? Supported by a rope and harness. A rope and harness is a safety equipment. I'm sure you've seen it, even if you don't know the name. When you see all these people that go for all these risky activities like mountain climbing, the ones that they jump from up or walk on a thin rope, they have some sort of strap on their body connected to a rope. The strap-like looking thing that looks like the straps of a school bag or a backpack, that's the harness, and then it's connected to a rope, so that in case the person accidentally falls, it will hold them and they don't have to like fall to the ground. So it's a safety equipment. That is just it. We've already seen it. The only reason you would not get this question correct is if you do not know what a rope and harness is. So a lot of times people find IELTS difficult because the level of vocabulary is low. But your situation is not hopeless, right? The most important thing is when you practice, take note of words you don't know and learn what they mean, so that in case you see it in another test, you know what to do. You understand? Okay. So now, we've already established safety equipment. 8, you'll be provided with safety equipment. So, supported by a rope and harness, you can stand on branches no bigger than your wrists. So you can imagine, you can stand on branches no bigger than your wrists. So let's highlight the rope and harness first of all. That leaves us with 9 and we got this one before to be E. That leaves us with 9 and 11, okay? But remember, always read your paragraphs to the end, just in case the paragraph still contains another answer. All right. And so no bigger than your wrist, and swing out between the boughs, or simply take the opportunity to lie in a treetop hammock. So you can lie. Lie literally means lie down in a treetop hammock. A hammock is, you know what they are. You've seen them in movies, like tying. You have like a piece of cloth, and you tie this end to one branch of a tree or a post, and this other end to the other one, and you see people laying in the middle, and they can swing in it. So that's a hammock. So you can either do the jumping from one branch to the other, or you can just lie in a treetop hammock and absorb the stunning bird's eye view. So this lie in a hammock, we saw a word like it. To lie down and absorb is like relaxing, right? Which is looking likely to be number 11, because 11 says you can relax and look down from above in an unusual location. So being on this tree that's so high, 25-meter oak tree, is already an unusual location. It's already unusual. It's not something you experience every day. Okay. And we've also seen the relaxed part, which is lie down in a hammock. Then the other keyword we've not yet seen is look down from above. So it says to lie down in a treetop hammock and absorb the stunning bird's eye view. What is a bird's eye view? It literally translates to like, birds stay very high on those trees. So when you're up there, you can look down, and so you just like, it's like seeing the world through the eyes of a bird, because birds are usually in very high places. Just trying to explain it as as simply as I can. So you can relax in a hammock and then absorb the stunning bird's eye views. That means from up there you can look down and just, it's like having a bird's eye view, because you're now as high as where birds would normally stay. So that is look down from above. It's in a question. Look down from above. Okay? Okay, so far we've been able to answer 7 of the 8 questions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we've been able to answer 6 of the 7 questions. That leaves us with number 9. You may get some minor injuries during this activity. So we have 2 paragraphs we've not read yet. So your answer would either be G or H for number 9. So let's read quickly, okay? Number 9 says you may get some minor injuries. Coasteering. Tackle the spectacular coast in the north of the island. Scrabble over the rocks around cliff edges as the waves crash around you. Dive through submerged caves and emerge onto a beach once used by smugglers. This is a thrilling experience, but not an adventure to attempt alone. So he said nothing about injuries, okay, or wounds. So we'll move on to H. Now, if you've been very careful and you're sure of everything you've answered, and now you're down to just 1 paragraph, you should know that automatically that's your answer. But just to be safe, go ahead and read it, okay? Mountain boarding, first developed as an off-season alternative to winter sports and now a sport in its own right, mountain boarding has the speed of snowboarding but with a harder landing when you fall. After a bit of practice and a few bruises, you will learn to control the ride and can join the few people who can call themselves mountain boarders. So yeah, bruises, injuries. You're going to have a few bruises, which is synonymous to you may get minor injuries during this activity. Okay, so that leaves us with all the answers, right? Using the color codes, number 12 is A, or rather, let's start from the top since we've answered everything. Number 8 is F. So you notice that F has 2 answers, okay? Number 8 is F, number 9 is H, number 10 is C, right? Number 11 is F again, number 12 is A, number 13 is D, and then finally number 14 is E. So that's how you answer such questions, okay? You just have to really pay attention. Okay, so this is another question under this. It's the same type of question. It's also matching information to paragraph. But this time, you have a list of students. From the heading, it says, helping pupils to choose optional subjects when they are aged 14 to 15. What some pupils say. You have 5 pupils, Krishnan, Lucy, Mark, Violetta, and Walid. And then you have questions here, 6 sentences or information. And you have to match it to which people said what. So just remember the steps and go ahead and attempt it. After about 5 minutes, the answers to these questions will be displayed. Let me know in the comment section how many you got correct. So we've come to the end of this class. Don't forget to subscribe so that you have access to many more videos that will be coming very, very soon. So I hope you understand. If you have any further questions, please leave them in the comment section and I'll do my best to get to you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you.